All right. Okay, we're live. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wando, for producing our event. I think parents can see me now. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I have a presentation here. All right, I think you should be able to see it. Okay. I'm having to manage a few screens, so bear with me. Good evening, parents. Thank you for joining us to today's event. I'm Chung Ying, school principal, and it's my honor to be in front of you today. To talk about our reopening plan. Before we go into the plan, I want to talk about how we come together and create this plan. There are a few important factors that we consider before we finalize this version. So I want to first apologize for last time we met there was a lot of questions that I wasn't quite able to answer all of them. It really is because we need to see more for sure numbers before we can tell you like whether we go one way or the other. And then I want to share something that's very important to you. I want to recognize that we hear very loud and clear that our parents want students to keep their teachers, their mentoring teachers, their English teacher. So our plan ensure that happens. For teachers, we want to make sure that the plan that we created it is manageable, that they are not spread very thin. We all know our teachers work so hard and we love every one of them, and so we want to make sure that the workload we give them is manageable. So our plan also covers that, and more importantly for students. We hear loud and clear that, hey, Mr. Ying, I can't have my child spend 8 hours, 6 hours a day in front of a screen. We hear that, and our plan do address that. So without further ado, I would like to go into our PowerPoint presentation. So the agenda real quick is today we are going to talk about our in-person learning plan, and we will have some time to answer some questions. And I have to confess that it was I didn't set up this live meeting correctly in a way that we don't have Q&A turned on this time. It's my oversight, but I do have most of your questions. Ms. Kelly Opat and I, we worked, pretty closely. We had a few meetings prior to this presentation, so I have a list of your wonderings, your questions. So I will be able to try to address most of all of them. So let's see.
And Mr. Ying, can I
yes.
just I got some that came in after, and I may get some via text or something during, so I'll share those as they come into at the end.
Perfect. And thank you, Ms. Opa. So that's exactly why we have a few presenters at this live event. So you're seeing me now, but we also have Ms. Opa, managing those Q&A questions for me. And Mr. Ritzma is also in the background in case we need him to answer a few questions. And I want to thank Ms. Wanda once again for putting all this together digitally behind the scene. So for, we'll start by talking about Check-in to Work app. This is about safety. I understand, we're operating on the principle that, we have to provide a safe learning environment. So HISD is rolling out this Check-in to Work app. As of today, it's working for the admins. I haven't checked with the teachers, but basically this app should start working, and then from next Monday, every staff and teachers before they enter to the building, they have to use the app to do a screening process. It's a 3-question screening, basically to see, whether or not you have, been in contact with COVID patient, so on and so forth. So with that screening process, we will, the program, the app will tell each step whether or not you're clear to come into the building. And then as a principal, I will receive report very frequently. I think it's at least 3 times a day. I'll know exactly which teachers and staff is clear to work. And in the event a staff is not clear, Axiom Medical is the company who's partnering with us. They're the company that programmed this app. They will assign a nurse to follow up with this the staff. They will follow up with a more clear screening process, and then they will let me know until that employee is clear to work. So we just want you to know that we have a very thorough screening process before we let every employee come into the building each day. For arrival and dismissal, it will be quite different this year than last. For arrival, we are going to only open 2 entry spots into the building. One is the main front office, and the second one is the dragon door. For front entry, we're letting the staff, the teacher, and elementary students to come through the front door. For dragon door, that's where we let the middle school students to get in from the dragon door. At each point, at the front door and dragon door, we'll have a wellness station. We will check each student's temperature before they get in. We will have enough PPE for every student. I want to be clear that your child is welcome to bring your own mask and PPE, but if we deem that PPE is not quite adequate, we will provide a mask for your child. Basically, the elementary students, they come in from the front door, they go straight to their classroom. And for middle school, they will wait in the cafeteria, and until 8:30, they will travel to their classroom. Currently, we have less than 30 students coming back in person in the middle school grade levels. So cafeteria will be plenty enough space for everyone to socially distance. And then as far as the assignment, earlier we had a staff meeting and we have talked about assignments with each individual staff. All right, so for student movement, we talked about how elementary and middle school, they come in the building in the morning. Now for dismissal, the elementary students, they will dismiss from their own classroom, and then middle school students, they will, the teachers will bring them to the cafeteria and they will wait there until their car, you are here to pick them up. We thought about sibling policy. We thought about 2 scenarios. Should we, bring siblings to the cafeteria, or should we let siblings wait in the classroom? And we decide that to minimize traffic, we want siblings to wait in their own classroom. So what happens is that when your car pull up, Ms. Lyons will take your grade level and name, and then she will use walkie-talkie to, hey, 3rd grade Johnny, go home. 2nd grade Timmy, go home. Each teacher will have a radio with them. They will, listen to the names the entire time, and then once they hear a name, they will send students to the front door. So that's what the calling the names is about. And we will have before and after school care. I spoke with Ms. Ponce de Leon. She's our director for the after school program, and she's ready to start. We are still taking applicants, and it is very important to know that we have to reach a certain number of students for us to offer this program. So please, if you need morning care or afternoon care, after school care, please do sign up right away, so that we can start off right off the bat. For morning, you're able to drop off your students at 7 o'clock, as early as 7 o'clock. So that's how it'll go. And then after afternoons, we'll also begin right away. All right, let's see. For daily schedule, this is to explain how our schedule will look like during a normal school day. So I'll try to explain this. This might be a little bit complicated and difficult to explain, but I'm gonna try my best. And let's just say I and Mr. Ritzma and I were both third grade teachers. So Mr. Ritzma is the English teacher, I'm the Mandarin teacher in third grade. So some of my students choose in person, some of my students choose virtually. Same thing with Mr. Ritzma. Some of his students choose in person, some of his students choose to take lesson virtually. So our schedule, I will be teaching the in-person group. I get Mr. Ritzma's in-person students, I teach my in-person students. Also, we combine the two groups and I teach them in the morning, while Mr. Ritzma teach my virtual students and his virtual students together in the morning. Okay, and then the second period, I will be teaching the virtual group. His virtual students, my virtual students, we combine. I'll teach them together. At the same time, Mr. Ritzma will be teaching the in-person group for me and his class. Okay, so that's how we're able to address and keep. See, Mr. Ritzma and I were switch teachers. So your child entire time, they'll stay with the same teacher, only, they're staying with their same group. We think this is the best way for our school, because alternatively, meaning if the teacher, I have to teach both in person and virtual, the students will be, they will be required to stay on the screen for a very long time, not to mention it'll stretch the teachers very thin. So we decide to go against that, not to go with that plan. Feel free to ask questions and send Miss Opa your questions if you're not clear about that. For lunch duty, all of the students will have lunch in the cafeteria. We are scheduling lunch in a way that every lunch rotation, the number of students is manageable. It's about 30 students every lunch rotation. The classroom teachers, they have seen the schedule, they have seen students' lunch schedule. They will bring students to the cafeteria, and then teachers will go on to their 30-minute duty-free lunch. The students, when they get into cafeteria, we're gonna talk about, but I'll talk about it right now. When they get to cafeteria, they will sit on the far end of the table, maybe one in the middle, but they're not gonna sit next to each other. And obviously the reason is to create that social distancing. Also, they will all face the front. They won't be sitting face to face and talking to each other. I mean, they will be sitting, all facing the front. And the idea is we're trying to, kind of say, if everyone is facing one way, one direction, when that miss, that droplet as you, talk or eat, at least it'll be a manageable, direction. We tell the teachers that they will continue to have their planning time, PLC time, and then elementary students, they will all, the in-person elementary students, they will all have a 30-minute recess time. So every grade level, they have their own recess time. The teachers are aware of the schedule, and we tell the teachers that for recess, they can't share equipment. Unfortunately, they won't be able to play with basketball. They won't, play catch. They can't do that because of the, I guess, safety guideline. They can use the playground. That is also a HISD guideline that we can use the playground at this time. So really what they can do during recess is, the teachers will take them to retention pond, allow students to run around. They can burn their energy by running around, chasing each other basically, but they will have their mask. They will wear their mask the whole time. We talk about procedures of using restroom. We talk about only sending one child at a time to really control that restroom traffic. We talk about the ancillary. Currently, we have a 4-way rotation. We were adding Ms. Lyons during this virtual instruction time. But once we come back in person, we'll go back to a 3-way rotation. For elementary, right, we'll have Ms. Bradley, music, we'll have Ms. Chen's art, and we'll have Mr. Deck's PE. We will, with this 3-way rotation, we'll have one teacher working with the in-person group, while the other teacher work with the virtual group. And then, we're gonna rotate these this ancillary so that all 3 ancillary teachers will work with the in-person group. There will be a rotation, but just know that this is how we manage the in-person and virtual. Is that one ancillary teacher will teach the in-person group. Let's see if I miss any notes. Okay, now I talk about recess, the procedure. Yes, we won't be able to use playground. We cannot share equipment. So we talk about that. Office hour. This is more or less for the teachers, but it's equally important for parents to know is that every teacher have a 1-hour office hour at the end of the day. We are utilizing office hours for small group. Small group is so important, especially these days. Your teacher, students are either learning in person or virtually. We want to capitalize the small group instruction because it's more tailored to where your child really, your child's level. So we're expecting teachers to reach out to you and say, Johnny, Timmy, Lisa, the 5 of you, I'm seeing you between this time and that time during my office hour. That's your small group, so on and so forth. Next, we're talking about breakfast and lunch. So for breakfast, everyone will have breakfast in their own classroom. So your elementary students, they come in the building, they go to their classroom. Middle school, 8:30, everyone go to their own classroom for first period, and we will bring breakfast to them. For lunch, on the other hand, everyone will go to cafeteria for lunch. As far as travel to the right, it's about social distancing. So we're making those signage. We're posting signage on the wall. We're posting, those stickers on the floor, keeping, everyone 6 feet away. So everyone will travel on the right so that, to create the maximum spacing among each other. We talk about where to sit. Remember, they're going to sit on one end of the table to create that spacing. And here's another thing. I know our parents like to have lunch with our students. It's very important that, on Friday, y'all bring lunch and with the grandparents and, having lunch together, but not this year. We are really wanting to minimize that outside visitor in our building. So we won't be able to open, lunch to visitors, lunch hours to visitors. All right. Next is transportation. We kind of touched on that before, but once again, let me reiterate that currently transportation is reserved for special ed students, homeless students, and high priority students. For example, if a family doesn't have access to internet or technology devices that they have to use a learning center, then in which case HISD will bring transportation to that student and take them to learning center. That's considered one of the high priority situation. In HISD, transportation will directly contact you for transportation. So I don't have that information at this time, but those information will directly communicate it with the family, if there's a transportation available to you. All right. Next, we're talking about student and staff safety. This is high on everybody's radar. Want to provide once again a safe learning environment. So we talk about those check-in to work app. Everyone has to check in using that app before they enter the building. We need to see that they're clear to work. Wellness station, I think I mentioned that also, is like at the 2 entry point, we'll have a wellness station where we have staff check everyone's temperature, making sure they're below 100. And then we'll provide PPE for you. If anyone doesn't, have PPE or adequate PPE, we'll make sure every student will have one mask every school day. So don't you worry, we'll definitely cover that. We'll have very, very limited visitors this year throughout the year. Maybe we'll have a few exceptions for, our district visitors, for example, but we won't have parent visitors at this time until we get further notice. For PPE, everyone must wear PPE at all times. The only exception will be during lunch or breakfast hours, when they're eating. We talk about school, we'll definitely provide that. So even I hear that for little ones, for kinder and pre-K students, there's a small size mask available. So we have that also. Okay, and for number of students in each classroom, see, we hear that, there is a magic number of 9. So here's an update. There's no magic number. We are putting enough students in each classroom based on the size of the classroom. We are taking out, let me show you the next slide. Basically, we're creating that physical spacing by removing non-essential furnitures. We have a lot of bookshelf, for example, cubbies, kidney table. Those take up a lot of spaces. So with them out of the classroom, and also we're moving table and desk. We will start from the close to the wall, and that also create more distance, more spacing for students. So most of our classroom can actually accommodate a lot more than 9 students while keep that safe distancing. Another thing, we talk about students, they must face the same way. It's the same thing in the cafeteria, and we'll do the same thing in classroom also. And once again, it's about, I guess, the direction air is flowing. So that's our rationale behind that. We talk about those high traffic, high touch areas, such as restroom, such as staircase, stair rail, handrail. Those will be cleaned on an hourly basis, just so that we can minimize those germs and viruses, the spread of them. And water fountains will be closed. So no one will be using water fountain, you'll be off limit. However, we do want to highly encourage you to bring water, send your child with a water bottle, that's very important because that's their own, water bottle. So it is the safest way to have water. We will provide water, bottled water though. So don't you worry. If your child need water, he ran out of water, for example, we will have enough bottled water for your children. So we definitely will provide that. Next, okay, so we kind of touched on that playground. Playground will be off limit this year until we get further notice. And so for plexiglass, we have installed plexiglass in each classroom. It's the same thing as sneeze guard, by the way. They're the same thing. So it has been installed in each classroom. Also, for hand sanitizer, we install hand sanitizer station in each classroom as well. And HISD will provide the refill. So at any time, we will have hand sanitizer keeping everyone's hands clean. Let's see, next. We have, I want to thank Ms. Stubblefield, Mr. Doucet, Mr. Lupe, and Sergio. They work really hard and long hours. On the weekend too, really, they have spent a lot of time putting signage throughout the building. We have shown you a few pictures on the social media, and also they're on the floor as well, just making sure everyone knows their safe distance, keeping 6 feet apart. Each teacher and each classroom will receive a cleaning kit that contains gloves, hand sanitizer, and disinfectant wipes. This is something we tell the teacher coming back from starting the 19th. Once students coming back, we have a new expectation is that we want students to learn to clean their surrounding, their own areas. Of course, it's going to be age appropriate. Some students, if they're too little, then we'll have a different plan. But most students, when age appropriate, we want them to start wiping down their desks, making sure their surrounding is clean. And this is, to create a safe area for them and for their classmates as well. So that's something we'll start doing when we come back. Every school will have an isolation room. We have an isolation room also. It is Ms. Garcia's old office. That is between the front office and Ms. Stubblefield's office. There's a hallway and there's a small office area. That will be our isolation room. If we have a student exhibiting high temperature, COVID-like symptoms, that will be the time we place the student in that isolation room. We hear parents saying that, Mr. Ying, what if we have 3 students having that COVID symptom? We have enough room. We have that copy room next to it. We can possibly use our parent room as well. So we definitely have enough room to accommodate enough students or staff having COVID symptoms. So we definitely thought about that as well. And obviously, in which case, Nurse Stubblefield will contact parents right away. We're going to talk about that in the next slide, in the next few slides. So I'll come back to that. So for potential exposure to COVID and or school closure, there is a very specific sequence that we follow. We will notify Nurse Stubblefield right away. She will investigate and complete a COVID case report. She'll investigate, she'll find out how many staff and students that person have contacted with. And then she will investigate, also find out which area might be exposed. So with that information, we will be able to tell. So we'll be able to tell which area we need to clean, right? And also we will know which parents and staff we will communicate, contact, and to let them know, hey, you're possibly, exposed. So, and tell them what to do next. And also we'll notify HISD facilities and let them determine whether or not they need to deep clean the building. And we know that if in the event that our building needs to be deep cleaned, we will do it very quickly, have a very quick turnaround so that we can bring students back to the building as soon as we can. That being said, in the event school is closed, we tell the teachers and we tell students that you all need to bring everything you need to bring it home so that in case the building is closed, we're able to resume our lessons the very next day virtually. And obviously our goal is trying to, get our building back to open as soon as we can. So those are our building reopening plan. And now I have some time for questions and answers. So let's see. Ms. Opad, are you with me?
I'm here.
All right. So how should we do this? Do you have a list of questions that we should answer now, or do you want me to go over the list you sent me?
Yeah, why don't you go over the list that I sent?
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. The very first one is total number of returning and staying virtual by grade level. I can share that information. I can't share my screen, but let me read that to you. For pre-K, we have 7 in person. For kindergarten, we have 27. For first grade, we have quite a few. We have 32. But keep in mind, this is the entire grade level combined. It just so happened that each cluster has 16. It's, you know, so it's a coincidence. So each group has 16 in-person students. For second grade, we have 11. So the entire second grade level, we only have 11 students coming back in person. For third grade, I have 14. For fourth grade, I have 17. For fifth grade, I only have 6. For sixth grade, I have 14. Seventh grade, I have 8. And eighth grade, I have 5 students. So these are the results that we pull from HISD Connect. Okay, so let's see. The next question. The class will be combined, so student will have their same teacher. Yes, they will have their same teacher. Need to share how this will shift their ABC rotation. We kind of talk about that. Miss Lion will pull out ancillary. So Miss Lion is taken out of the ancillary rotation. We talk about starting in person, we'll have a 3-way rotation. Fourth grade will receive instruction. Yes, all of the fourth grader will see all fourth grade teachers. Miss Liu will be currently Miss Liu will be teaching virtually, but she will see all 3 classes. Room are adjusted to allow yes, so room are adjusted to allow maximum safe spacing. I talk about we remove some of the furnitures, non-essential furnitures out of the classroom, and that really open up quite a lot of spaces. Hours will remain the same. Yes. So our class begins at 8:30, and the hours is the same actually. So yes, student will bring devices. Yes, student will bring devices to school because you see, because some of the teachers are posting their assignments in the hub. And that is why, you know, some of the in those small group situations, they might be needing to get on Imagine Learning, Imagine Math, for example, and that's the reason why students need their devices. Teachers will decide how to proceed. Okay, current plan can accommodate. So our plan does have room for growth. We are anticipating come the next 6 weeks, we will have more in-person students. So we really thought about that, and we have room to grow and accommodate more in-person students. But while we're, you know, while that being said, whatever decision y'all put into HISD Connect, we need you to stick with that decision for that six weeks. If you choose one, don't do the other, because that will change our plan. We won't be able to accommodate if you change your decision in the middle of that 6 week. So we definitely need every parent to work with us on that.
Mr. Ng, can you
yes.
clarify, like for fourth grade that has the 3-way rotation, can you give a little more detail about how that will work?
Sure. So for Miss Liu, her personal reasons, she will be teaching from home. We will have a staff working with her group in person while they learn from Miss Liu. She will be teaching online virtually. So that's the only exception. And so, but there will be a staff working with that in-person group, and then we'll do the normal rotation. Mr. Ritzma, if I missed something, help me, definitely step in and help me. Did I cover that about right? You're on mute, by the way. Yeah, you're still on mute.
Uh-oh. Sometimes this happens to my kid in Teams and she can't unmute herself.
We're all learning.
Attempting to unmute. Hold on.
Okay, thank
All
you,
of a
Ms.
sudden,
Abanda.
we're all tech person. Like we have to produce, live events. So this is definitely a learning process for all of us. Mr. Isma, I think you have control of my screen. I don't know if that's what you're trying to do. Okay, hang on. Let me change. If I stop. Okay, and then I'll reshare. Are you sure you want to share? I will share. Here we go. All right, and then let me see. I still can't hear you though.
Still on mute.
Okay. So if I'm not clear about the 4th grade answer, send me an email. I will try to explain some more. I'm open to talk about it some more. So, but let me move on to the next one. Let's see, buses. We talk about buses. ASP. We talk about ASP. So please do sign up. One of the question is how early can you drop off your child? 7 o'clock. We talked to Mr. Sergio and Miss Sylvia. We are ready to do this, but once again, we need enough students to do this. So please do sign up for before and afternoon care.
Mr. Ng, how
yes.
early can you drop off though if you are not signed up for ASP?
That will be the same time as the building opens, which is 8 o'clock, right? We open at 8 o'clock.
Okay, so the earliest, 8:05.
Right, we open at 8:05, yeah.
So Mr. Ritzma is putting his responses in chat, so I'm going to be both parent voice and Ritzma voice. So yeah, 8:05 is the earliest, and so what that means for parents is that they can't drop off and have kids hang out like they have in the past 2 years. Correct?
Right. Please don't drop them off unsupervised. This is very, very important because the kids, they play, it's hard for them to social distance. So this is for everybody's safety. Please drop them off. Don't drop them off early. All right. Next, let me move on to the next question is about filtration. We have parents asking, hey, Mr. Ng, what kind of filter you're using and how often you change your filter. So we follow HISD. This is HISD facility will take care of that. So it's not on a campus level, and HISD will replace on a 3-month basis. And this is based on OSHA's recommendation. There's a specific filter and frequency of replacement, so we definitely follow that guideline. All students have to go through drop off. Parents cannot walk children to the door. You will need to dedicate some time to drop off and pick up so parents understand all the details, including the earliest time. So we talk about that earliest drop off time, and parents cannot drop off. Okay, so did I answer that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What you just answered.
Okay. Share process for any early dismissal needs. Okay, so for early dismissal, we haven't talked about early dismissal, but we don't have early dismissal.
Not early dismissal. So like if a parent needs to pick up their child for a doctor's appointment or something like that, should they keep the child home and they do remote that day, or what's the process?
That's a good point. I encourage, if that's the case, stay online for that day. We will be able to take attendance for just one day. That's not a problem at all. So thank you. And we do that to minimize traffic, really, for everyone's safety. Okay.
There's some clarification Mr. Ritzema put through that parents are also asking about 4th grade. So hopefully I articulated correctly. 4th grade, students are going to stay in the same room, and the teachers will rotate through that room throughout the day. So they'll get all 3 teachers, and the same with virtual. They'll get all 3 teachers throughout the day. That's the 3-way rotation I think that folks are asking about.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so the next question, if there's need for one more isolation room, so we touch on that. We definitely thought about different rooms, so we have planned for that. Discuss process for children to take off their mask. So for students who take off their mask, they're not creating a safe learning environment. We'll definitely address that. We will start by talking to the students. We will talk to the parents also. We will sit down and say, look, you know, you really need to make sure you keep that mask. There will be some kind of consequence for that if, you know, the child continues to violate that safety, you know, process. So definitely we'll address that. Okay. So that's about it for that list. Do you have more coming to?
Yes, so I'm getting Mr. Oops. Okay, stop, hold on.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
muted.
I'm muted because I'm coming through my phone too, because I have Mr. Ritzema on the phone. In case there are questions. Yeah, do you want to? Yes.
Let me circle back something real quick. I misspoke for one thing. For your child with doctor appointment, still send your child to school. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Send your child to school. If you need to check out your child, we can do that. You know, we'll do that normally. You come in, we'll get your child. You can, you know, go to the doctor's appointment. So sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not
Hear him?
Kind of, sort of. It breaks up every so slightly. I'm trying to put up
Okay,
something
I'm
so we
trying
can
to
put up
figure out
your
what it-
number on the presentation for you.
And the actual microphone's not working.
correct?
Correct.
Wait, I think Mr. Ritzma's
Or can you hear
speaker
me
is
now?
working now. I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, good.
Yay!
So the 4th grade position, I think, sorry, the 4th grade situation is like a good illustration of how the whole elementary system will work, because the kids will stay in the same room all day. So that's true of pre-K all the way to 5th grade. The kids will stay in the same room the whole day, and the teachers will rotate in and out. So if I'm a teacher in 4th grade, I spend a third of my day with those in-person kids, and then the other 2/3 of the day.
We just lost you again. Right in the middle.
I could have sworn I heard it. What happened here?
I was talking.
It's so strange. Okay.
Well, so I think, because I have some questions coming through, and I think it'll probably be helpful just to clarify, Mr. Ng, that the process that will work for students is all the students will be together that are in person, and then one teacher will be teaching them, right? So they'll stay in their groups, but not necessarily in their homerooms. And all the virtual students will be learning virtually together with the other teacher for that group, and then they'll rotate. So the teacher, okay. So just make sure that's crystal clear to parents, because there are some questions about that. Okay. can you also give some explanation as to what middle school is like? Because you said fewer are coming back, but they don't have the same kind of rotation that elementary has. So can you share that plan?
Right. For middle school, and thank you for that question. I'm sorry I forgot to touch on that. For middle school, the in-person student is so few at this time, and plus we don't have a partner teacher for middle school, so the teachers will be teaching virtually and in person at the same time.
Okay. And so the in-person will be, I think there's still some questions coming through about fourth grade. I'm not sure what else we need to clarify with that. Oh, okay. I am also seeing something about the cafeteria. So lunch, they won't be going through the lunch line, right? The lunch will be served to students if they don't bring their lunch from home. Okay. And there were some questions, and I'm not exactly sure, that came out of the SDMC meeting this week. So Miss Wong will be supporting the whole school or just fourth grade. Folks that are sending me that, do you understand what I'm asking?
Oh,
yeah.
Miss Cynthia Huang.
Yes. So is she supporting the whole school?
Fourth and fifth.
Fourth and fifth. Okay. So some parents are wondering, how can she support both? What does that look like?
I don't have a schedule for her at this time, but our thinking is we're definitely getting the tier 2, tier 3 students first. So students who struggle in Mandarin will get some small group one-on-one time with Ms. Huang. So that's how we're going to make that plan.
Okay. There's also, it sounds like there are going to be a lot of students on the first floor. And so how are you managing flow of students, those younger students that are on the first floor, since it sounds like the biggest number coming back are those K1, not first, but pre-K, K1? Like, so so there's also another question coming in about, are teachers going to be using their own classrooms, or are they going to be switching classrooms?
Right, we are going to re-evaluate that. We will try to keep teachers in that classroom. So we had a, right, we want to try to keep teachers in their own classroom because you know, some of the restroom situations, for example, and then the teachers don't have to travel and bring a lot of, you know, teaching supply and everything. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the classroom is able to accommodate enough, you know, students and create that spacing. So we are going to have to kind of adjust that, because earlier in our staff meeting, we talked about our original plan really is to create the maximum amount of space. But at the same time, we really can stay with our own classroom and still accommodate our current number. So, but I would like to take a closer look to see what exactly that looks like. Because one of the things that really brought to our attention was that, okay, Mr. Ying, so what about kinder students if you put them in a different classroom, but then, you know, they already have restroom in their own classroom, right? So which restroom are they going to use? You know, that's a very legitimate concern. So we're, you know, going to be like, as much as we can, we will, you know, put everyone in the same, you know, their own classroom. So I'm gonna have to, you know, give you an update maybe at a later time.
Okay. And so there's still the question, there's a remaining question about kids bringing their own devices. So we still want kids to bring their own devices because they may have some assignments that are in the hub still. Elementary students can bring their own paper and pencil, or I guess all students can bring their own paper and pencil, but it won't be distributed by the teacher. So people will need to make sure that they're taking care of that themselves, right?
To be clear, teachers may, make copies and, give students material. They have gloves, so, that would be safe passing. But it's just very important to know that students won't share any, pencil or anything with anyone else. Like they will have their own pencil and paper.
Okay, I am going to see if Mr. Ritzema, if you are on mute, I'm going to try one more time to see if I can call in to see if he has anything to add. I'll keep my headphones on so that it can go directly through my microphone. I know that sets us up for a potential like mega feedback, but I'm going to try again.
You can't hear me now, can you?
Yes, we can.
It's probably on my
Wonderful.
end. Probably
Wow.
my device. Yeah, I think what Mr. Ng's getting at is that we do the plan as it's currently constructed. We're using a lot of the larger spaces in the school, and we have some walls that open up and things like that. So that's kind of our tentative plan, is to try to put the classes with the most kids in the rooms with the most space. Now the downside to that is that it would cause us to have to make a big change after this 6 weeks. So that's why Mr. Yang's saying we're kind of reevaluating that a little bit right now. And I think it'll also help having the teachers come in and start setting up their classrooms next week. We'll get a sense of like which spaces really are going to work well, which may not work as well. But yeah, we're definitely paying attention to the spaces that we have that have the most airflow, and then just that kids can spread out the most.
Okay, and the plan that you do have, I think there was someone else asked me that, and I just want to make sure that it's clear to folks that this plan is not only just for now, but it can accommodate more students coming in if more choose to in the second 6 weeks period, what you've put together.
That is correct.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, we said one of our goals was to make sure that we were letting kids keep their same two teachers, especially in elementary. And I could see a situation where as we get more in-person kids, like there ends up being a switch partner that's all in-person kids, and then maybe another switch partner where one person's virtual, one person is in person. So I think the difference would just be the number of in-person classes would probably increase for the next 6 weeks.
Okay, and just to be crystal clear, parents can parents walk up their students to the front door? Does everybody have to go through the line for drop off?
Yeah, so kids that walk to school or parents that want to walk their kids to school, that's still allowed. And we
Okay.
I think Mr. Ng has already said this, but we have marking there for in the morning, because even if everybody doesn't open their car doors till 8:05, it's still going to be a rush of kids at that time. So Mr. Doucette and Lupe and everyone have done a really good job of putting all those markers there, because it'll take some time for each kid to get their temperature taken and all that stuff.
Okay, there are some more, like several fourth grade parents wanting more clarification on fourth grade, especially since Miss Lou won't be back. So is there maybe a possibility that you can clarify some more about fourth grade, and then they might have some more questions and ask for some more one-on-one time with the two of you?
I think we talked about partnering Miss Liu and Miss Huang. So Miss Huang will be kind of just working in the classroom with the students while Miss Liu is teaching online. So Miss Huang will kind of just facilitate that learning. That's our plan for that.
Okay, and just so parents, some of the questions I'm getting, when students are in person, they're not logging on to get virtual instruction while they're in person. They will have face-to-face instruction. They might have to log on to get the hub, because all students will be using the hub, because we want to minimize paper for students and kind of maximize the same experience for virtual and face-to-face.
You are correct.
Okay. And okay, I hope this was clarified, and it's something that we talked about. So there's only 11 kids coming back for second grade total, right? So it's still going to be those that are in virtual will be a virtual rotation or virtual homeroom. Those are face-to-face will be a face-to-face homeroom, and the teachers will swap based on the teams, right?
We
So like
didn't. Okay, no, we didn't talk about like changing homeroom or anything. We talk about, right, we talk about, we will naturally have to create a team with the mixed group of virtual students, but we're not thinking about, okay, going back to HISD Connect to change the class or homeroom, for example, so.
Right, I'm using that as more like they won't actually change who their homeroom is. It's just they're going to be operating differently for the next 6 weeks. They won't, all be meeting in their homeroom. The face-to-face will be meeting together, and virtual will be meeting together. But they'll still be in the pair. So it'll be, if Butler and Cho, thank you, because that's our my teacher are what like they'll still have those same two teachers, and then okay. They'll switch.
Yes. We know that was important to parents, so we made sure that happened.
Okay.
Mr. Ng, am I also correct in saying that we don't know 100% of kids what their decision is? So like second grade, for example, it could end up that it's like 12 kids coming in person. So we want to hedge our bets and like err on the side of expecting more kids to come back in person. Yeah, because I know that 6 makes it seem like a really small number.
There's also a question about so for pickup, so if you're not doing ASP and you're doing pickup, what is the latest time that you can do pickup? Like, what's the last time that you can come before a child is considered late?
4:30.
4:30. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Trying to see if there's anything else that we need to address. I think what we'll commit to do from some of the parents who asked, and we'll work with you, Mr. Ng and Mr. Ritzma, creating some sort of FAQ document with some of the frequent questions that come up. I don't see anything coming in on my end right now. Teachers do come back next week, right?
Correct.
And so I know that parents will be really interested in how they can support teachers because, we understand that this is probably a challenging time for them. I'm sure many of them are nervous about coming back to school as well. And so if there's things that we can do, we'll work on teacher appreciation stuff from the committee and PTO, but if there are things from the administration that you're hearing that we can do to help support teachers, we want to make sure that we can do that as well.
All right.
Okay.
So I guess that concludes our event, reopening plan meeting. Okay, so we still have a few families that didn't answer that choices, right? So we are reaching out to you because we really need that answer. So we already have a plan. Our office staff, Ms. Obando is in charge of that. So we are going to call you today, and then tomorrow, to get your answer. So please be on the lookout for our phone call. And then thank you guys for joining us today, and we will see you soon.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one. Everyone have a good evening.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.